Hello and welcome back to this edition of Burgers and Fries. I am Anthony, aka Desert Cat 22. With me, as always, is our co-host. We have TT Burger 88 and Timberwolf. How are you doing,
Hello.
gentlemen?
We're doing fine here. It's another Tuesday evening and it's raining over here, so a good day for a podcast for sure.
What's the weather like in Minnesota?
It's getting cool over here.
Yep.
Well, here in Southern California, it's basically, we're getting 90-degree days, but today has been a welcome break. Or I actually didn't need to use the AC today. And considering we've been doing heat waves of over 100 degrees, this is a very welcome break.
Definitely. Sounds like it.
So, this subject, oh boy, it actually quite surprised me when Tony decided he wanted to talk about this. Tony, what are we talking about today?
The education system and how they're teaching these kids like it's okay to be trans and change your gender and etc. etc. Like the woke trans, like how all these woke people are trying to teach these kids about all this stuff.
Now, before we begin talking about this, all right, I want all of our listeners to be assured what you end up doing, especially as an adult, it's all up to you, and we are actually supportive of what you do as an adult.
Exactly.
Not only that, all right, do I have a soft spot for trans kids? Yes, I do. Because why do I have a soft spot? Because I have family that are trans. I have a cousin who was trans, made the transition as an adult, and I have a non-blood family member who chose to become a boy after being born a girl. And this kid was less than 10 years old when they chose to make the transition. Visited them, and as long as they're happy with what they're doing, I'm supportive of what they're doing. So we are not against kids making the decisions on their own. We're not against parents supporting the decisions that the kids are making on their own with the information that they're given. All right, as long as it is not something that they're being forced upon. Tony, are you saying that a lot of this ideology seems to be getting forced upon today's youth? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because this is stuff that should not be taught in schools. Kids shouldn't even need to learn this stuff. They should be learning like basic math, basic reading, basic history and health and all that stuff. Not this stuff. I mean,
gentlemen, do you remember being taught the bad side of slavery?
No, I learned about like Martin Luther King Jr. and stuff like that.
Civil rights. I remember being in first grade being taught about Martin Luther King. And then as you progress, you learn about the history of slavery in America. And you learn about the history of Jim Crow stuff, about the history of segregation. But not necessarily because they were trying to demonize the kids that are learning about it. They were basically trying to talk about it to, this is why this was wrong then and why we don't do it anymore today. And that should be the main point. You agree, gentlemen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any social studies class, you're gonna learn about the presidents and stuff in the history of our country and everything. You're definitely always gonna learn that stuff.
So yeah, the history of slavery in America, that's part of American history. The Civil War is part of American history. The Emancipation is part of American history. Like, we have to learn both sides. We have to learn the good side. We have to learn the bad side. But we have to do it so that we're learning how to heal as a lesson for holding people accountable today for what they do from then on, not from what they did 200 years ago. Do you think that you should be held accountable for something that you didn't do 200 years ago?
No. Because we weren't born 200 years ago.
But anyway, all right, we're talking about a lot of the stuff that's being talked about in schools.
Well, my mom's a teacher and all that. In her school, they were trying to pass critical race theory, but luckily, they didn't pass that.
Okay. But what are you noticing in Indiana, Tony?
I'm noticing that, like, but I know, like, in these, like, schools and, like, the downtown areas and stuff like that like, and places like Florida and all that stuff, they're trying to teach all this stuff that it's okay to, like, change your gender and stuff like that. It's okay to, like...
Oh, whoa. In Florida, they're trying to teach that? Last time I checked, they were trying to pass a bill that basically says, Florida. No, you can't be teaching that. Thank you.
Cut that out. Edit this part out.
No, I'm not going to edit that out, Tony.
Yeah, not Florida. I'm trying to remember where. I mean, I know that, like schools in general. They're just teaching all this stuff. It goes back to once again what it's only. It makes you wonder what they're gonna do for like science classes so like that. What they're gonna just teach kids about the human body from now on, so like that, and that's it. I mean, get rid of astronomy and get rid of earth science and all that stuff, because I'm putting those are my two favorite types of science. And I'll say this, Pluto's still a planet in my eyes.
That doesn't mean you're correct.
No, but because why do I say Pluto's a planet? There's a still a Pluto and still a moon and stuff like that. That's why.
And Tony, do you ever look up Uranus?
Yeah, it spins on its side, yeah.
You know, Tony, you can fit 63 Earths inside Uranus. 64 if you relax.
I know what you're doing there. I've heard that joke many times before. Especially.
Okay, but back on topic, all right? But you're right, okay? Imagine them taking out astronomy or just introducing CRT shit in astronomy or introducing all this shit in math. And like, teacher, what does CRT have to do with this algebra question?
Oh my lord, I just realized something. What if they get rid of telling time on an actual clock because of this stuff? Imagine if they got rid of that.
Because they're going to say analog clocks are racist?
Oh, brother.
Well, imagine...
No, I mean, I've heard outlandish claims. A lot of that shit. The racist roots in these practical things we've been doing forever. Like, what the fuck? When there's people that are advocating for people of color don't need to do this to graduate because systemic racism. Well, by claiming that people of color are not capable of doing this, all right, that's making the advocates sound racist. So now I wrote down a ton of points in the chat, and I asked you guys to do the same, but you didn't. So it's not my fault you can't think of any talking points.
Well,
all right,
trying.
But you had all day to think about this shit, Tony. All right. So there's a good Bill Maher clip, and it's called New Rule Along for the Pride. And one of the things that he talked about, and it's just how there just seems to be a new wave of transgender kids. And this is a quote from him. He says, if you attend a small dinner party of typically upper income liberal people in Los Angeles, it's not uncommon to hear parents who each have a trans kid and have conversations about this. And he also goes on to say, if this spike in trans children is all natural, why is it regional? Either Ohio is shaming them or California is creating them.
Honestly, I think he's right about California creating them.
Okay, in what way?
For one thing, it just seems like it's just being forced on the kids and all that. I wouldn't mind if there are those that are trans, but just do it after you turn 18 or 21.
Yeah, I mean, like, just learn it a little bit when you're at least a senior in high school or you are in college. I mean, here's the thing about this stuff. Like, kids aren't gonna remember this stuff. They're gonna come home and tell their parents what they learned in school.
No, that's the thing, is they are impressionable, and that's kind of the point that Bill Maher is making. I mean, he also said, it's like, look, if we all wanted to be what we wanted to be when we were 8, there would be a bunch of cowboys and princesses. And then there was another thing he said. He said, I don't understand parents who don't let their 9-year-old walk down the street without a helmet, an EpiPen, and a GPS tracker. You know, God forbid they eat dairy, but hormone blockers and genital surgery? Oh, that's totally fine.
Jeez,
when they're kids.
There's so much wrong with that. I don't even know where to begin. Like, wow, you might as well tell a kid they can't ever eat chocolate chip cookies or have cake or so.
No chocolate chip cookies, but you want to have hormone blockers that may potentially sterilize you for the rest of your life. That's okay.
And also, I kind of heard about this. Hormone blockers can also cause brain swelling.
There's potential health risk with these hormone blockers, but they're pushing them like they're allowed to be safely taken like M&Ms.
Jeez, it reminds you of those fentanyl. Rainbow fentanyl that's happening in the country. It's almost like that.
Oh, that's another one you wanted to bring up. And now here's the thing I'm going to say about the rainbow fentanyl.
Like, how...
I'm not saying that there's accidental overdoses or whatever, but at the way they seem to be fear-mongering it, it's like, oh no, watch out for this kid's candy. I don't think drug dealers and cartels want to give away millions of dollars in free samples. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm still skeptical about that.
I know what you mean, yeah.
So, gentlemen, what do you know about this incident that happened in Loudon County, Virginia?
One incident.
So, the high school freshman girl that got raped by a 15-year-old gender-fluid boy who was known for wearing skirts at school.
Ooh.
And the dad, who heard about it and actually got confirmed by doctors that, yeah, your girl was sexually assaulted, he tried to bring it up and tried to speak up about it, but the school kept trying to cover it up and label this guy as a right-wing extremist and got this guy arrested because they said he was intimidating school officials because a fucking guy raped his daughter.
Sheesh.
But why did they
cover it up?
Why
exactly? Why would they want to cover it up?
So they get their agenda.
Exactly. Easier to pass their agenda. Easier to say, oh no, this isn't happening. Oh no, these incidents are not actually happening.
And also, there's something I do want to bring up. You can't hear these people saying that they're trans or they're gay or something. How can you tell that they're not doing that to look like they're doing it for a trend or something like that? It's
another point that was brought up in that Bill Maher clip I tried to share you guys.
And, well, I know someone's going to say, oh, you must have got this from a right-wing website. Actually, I kind of thought that on my own, since I kind of asked myself about, okay, does this...
So you have this dad who spoke up at the school board meeting and got arrested. During the investigations, this same alleged rapist was merely transferred to another school where he allegedly assaulted another girl during the investigations.
And what happened to him?
So he did this twice.
Why?
Exactly. Why would you let this guy go free?
That's what I want to know. Maybe it's... I don't know what it is.
You cover it up and let this guy go free because you don't want news of this getting out because it's going to piss off. It's going to piss off people who are against the ideology being talked about in school, and it's going to piss off the activists who are going to get pissed off about the people getting pissed off about it. In all this motion to avoid a confrontation, they got another girl sexually assaulted because of this shit. And again, despite these incidents being medically confirmed by the sheriff's department and the doctors, my God, as they're getting this angry father sent to jail, you have the National School Board Association apparently using this angry father as an example to complain to the Biden administration, saying, oh, people like this guy are trying to intimidate school board members, and you're getting the Biden administration agreeing with the school board people, saying that such actions can be hate crimes and domestic terrorism? When the fuck did defending your daughter over a rape incident become domestic terrorism? When did that become right-wing?
I don't know when that was, but so it's terrorism that the guy's sticking up for his daughter and stuff like that. Oh, I guess he can't stick up for his daughter then. I mean,
no, he can't stick up for his daughter because these are protected people that you're sticking up for.
What kind of fucked up country are we living in, people? I mean,
a country with an administration that you voted for, Tony. That's what kind of fucked up country we're living in.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that.
You knew we were gonna say that, exactly.
Yeah. I know.
Well, at least you're not in Canada. The Prime Minister over there, Justin Dick Trudeau.
You mean blackface?
Yep. I did kind of heard that in Canada. Let's say there was a little boy saying that he identifies as the girl. The government has the right to take it away to be re-educated into a girl or something like that.
What?
I'm not making that up.
See, so you're saying if somebody says they want to identify as something different, they now have the right to be re-educated differently?
Yes.
It's a slippery slope to talk about this. It's like, you have plenty of people, even plenty of trans people who are saying, no, they're fine with this when they're making these decisions as adult, when they're of sound in mind. They don't want this to be an agenda to be converting children.
And, well, I'm glad that there are those that are speaking up about it.
More people need to speak up about it. So, again, now, gentlemen, I also showed you this clip from this woman in Santa Barbara. She was a teacher in the Santa Barbara school district. And then she actually showed curriculum that is password protected. And this is, again, curriculum that parents are not allowed to see. So they're hiding this curriculum from parents, as it seems, because they knew that if parents knew what they were talking about, you get a lot of angry people saying, no, why are you teaching this to our kids? Why aren't you teaching us the important shit? But, this stuff is called culturally responsive curriculum, where it demonizes people, has stuff about how to be a white ally, lessons about BLM, how to be an activist, lesson plans centered around the LGBT community, entirely politically charged stuff. And they have lessons for kids as young as preschool age. Teaching on pronouns, inclusive curriculum lessons, LGBTQ heritage, gender inclusive biology, LGBTQ History Month. Yes, we've always had Black History Month, but now you have Juneteenth history, Autism Awareness Month.
Well, for someone on the autism spectrum itself, if I could say this, I wish they would just accept people with autism every day instead of having it for a month.
Accept everybody as who they are every day, all right? You can celebrate the Black history. If you want to celebrate gay history, great. You want to celebrate the milestones that were made, that's fine, okay? But you don't need to do it to demonize people. You can do it to heal as a nation. You can do it to talk about empathy and talk about taking responsibility for your actions and healing the relationships. Not stuff that's basically hatred, division, and talking about blame and shame.
And if there was something I could say about this whole gender study that they're trying to teach kids in school, do they know? I don't know if these people know about it or not, but do they ever know that gender ideology was made by a pedophile?
Oi.
I wish I was making that up. And
I wish you were too.
And then as for this whole gender being like a social construct, I do remember hearing that there was some sort of scientist a long time ago where he kind of thought the idea of the gender being a social construct. He experimented on two boys, which when they had their penis cut off.
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to bring up the name. I cannot remember the name. Do you remember the name of this guy?
I don't remember the name, but I do remember that the last thing that happened was when two boys that were dressed up in girls' clothing, the two boys committed suicide.
Jeez. Well, and that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate stat that a lot of people just seem to ignore, is that there is a unhealthy amount of suicide rates among people in the transgender community.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I knew about this and just said it's very, very true.
So again, as a result of all of these curriculums, you've had a lot of teachers resign or be forced to resign or take leaves of absences because they don't agree with what they're teaching. Again, the schools are telling these teachers to teach this shit, and at the same time, they're not making it accessible for parents to learn about. So one bright side about the pandemic is when you forced all the kids to learn from home and forced all the parents to be home with their kids, the parents were finally realizing, oh, wait, this is what they're teaching? Because now they could be listening in on the lesson plans. So the Loudon County incident, I think, was one of the things that actually got a Republican Virginia governor elected. Because the one thing is, if you piss off mothers of school children, they're going to lash out and they're going to vote against the policies that, when they realize, wait, this is what's going on? No, we're going to vote against this. Now, again, we've talked about, bringing up past history, all right? And like I said, the only time you can bring up the past grievances of a certain country or whatever should be for the purpose of healing the relationships. I mean, people often talk about, the demonizing white people against the Native Americans. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm a white person. I have been on 5 humanitarian missions trips to the Native American reservations in Arizona. What have you done to help your fellow Native American? People talking about homelessness being a huge problem. Okay, you know what? I used to feed homeless as part of community service when it was a requirement in high school. And because I enjoyed doing it so much, I did it when it wasn't a requirement anymore. So you want to talk about homelessness being a problem? What have you done? Have you been at a soup kitchen? Have you grabbed a ladle and helped out the homeless and fed them? I have. A lot of these activists, a lot of these people pushing all these ideologies don't actively do the things themselves. It is so hypocritical of what they're doing.
They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
They don't walk the walk, indeed.
No.
And also, I can say about the same activists that are doing that, when they say something about, we don't want to sexualize women or children or something like that, but then they do 360 and be hypocritical about it.
If you're going to expose children to these ideas of learning about gender fluidity at such a young age, again, when they're that impressionable, then of course you're going to get more kids thinking, oh, I'm really a girl, I'm really a boy, I'm really this and this. And then, no, that has no place in elementary schools. If kids are thinking that in the privacy of their own homes and they're talking with their parents about that, that is completely different. Mm-hmm. And then in schools, you should be talking about acceptance of if a kid makes that transition.
This is something that has to stop. For me, it's not right. Because, kids shouldn't have to be taught this stuff. And no one should be pressuring a kid into doing something like that. Whatever a kid does, yes, they have to listen to their parents, listen to teachers, because they're kids. They have no say because they live under their parents' roof or something like that. But it doesn't mean they don't have the right to do what they want or something like that. It's their choice in the end, and that's how it should be.
And for the record, for the kids who grow up with whatever they're feeling, all right, and they deal with parents who are not supportive or are not being the emotional support that they need to be, we feel bad for those kids too. We want those kids to experience love and acceptance, all right? But we also want them to make the decisions when they're of age.
Yep.
They have to be the ones making the decisions. It can't be politicians telling them to make the decisions. It can't be teachers and school boards telling them and encouraging them to make those decisions.
Okay, I said that I know people want freedom and all that, but people need to learn that freedom is a thing that needs to be earned, never given, and as well as real freedom has standards as well.
I agree.
Me too.
So that about wraps it up for today's podcast, gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are listening to us and you disagree or you agree, please leave a comment below. And if you want to talk to us further, especially privately, join our Discord server where you can talk to myself directly. But until then, I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.